All right. Hi, everybody. I'm John
I'm Joni.
for Grow, Love, and Expand. As always, we're coming at you again. And so, again, a little bit about me. My name's John, and basically my journey started, ever since I was popped out of the womb, I thought I was something different. But about 33 years ago, 1987. What is that, 33 years? I had an event happen in my life that changed my perspective, changed my outlook, started me on this sort of spiritual path, if you will, that made me see things in life a lot differently. And it changed my entire perspective of how I view everything. I see us all as one being, one unit, connected as a whole, but not just connected to each other, but connected to all things. The chair in which you sit, the tree that you're looking at, the pool that you lay in, everything, the fork that you use, the cup that you drink your liquid from. Everything and all thing is a part of the greater good. Some call it God, goddess, all that is. Whatever terminology you would use, you can use. This page was started in order just to provide information. It's just a way to get the information out there. Why? Because when you go through sort of like a spiritual revelation, you do a lot of introspective thinking, a lot of understanding of self, and eventually you get to a point to where there's no other conclusionary reality that needs to occur other than to provide the information, right? Now, whether you believe the information is not really irrelevant. That's not really my purpose. My purpose is to get the information out there, right?
Right.
That's what we do. Would you concur?
I would, and I think that it gets everybody thinking, and expands your mind a little bit. It doesn't mean you necessarily believe every word, but it really does kind of spark that curiosity and make you think about things.
It plants a seed.
Absolutely.
Right? And then that seed grows. And some people often ask sometimes, how does that seed grow? And really the seed grows organically. In other words, you might be led to a bookstore. You might be led to a website, or something might just pop in front of you. You might see an old acquaintance that you haven't seen in a while. They've had a life experience, or you run into somebody at a grocery store, and it just sparks a conversation. You're like, what is this, right? Because like for me, I had this revelation occur, and it was like, who's God, what's God, who am I, what am I, how do I fit in all this? And then boom, 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 I had all these things start popping at me all at once, this information. And one of them being, I give great credit to, is Shirley MacLaine in the movie Out on a Limb, because it was talked about all extraterrestrials, it talked about past lives, had psychics in it, it talked about a wholeness, a greater whole to all things, right? And it just was like, yeah, what is going on here? Who is God? What is God? What is God all about? Who am I? How do I fit in? What am I? And, it's been a long, long journey, right? And now I say that basically my earthly, right, knowledge is growing, but now it's more galactic, right? So now we start to learn more about galactic experiences and the whole universe, right? And how we fit into everything, what?
I was going to ask, is that where synchronicity comes in? Because you were saying about, you maybe think about a friend you haven't seen in a long time, and then suddenly they call.
Right.
Or, something like that.
Right.
Out of the blue it happens, but is it really out of the blue? Is it...
Right. Is it really out of the blue is the question, and the answer is it is not.
Right.
It's a synchronicity.
You put it out there.
Right.
With your thought or with your...
See, you come into this life, right, with a certain destination, a certain reality that you're trying to achieve, right? And along that line, we detour from that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, when you're born, you are pure knowledge, basically, right? And your life is already designed for you. The screw up happens is when basically when ego gets involved and thinks it knows best. And it diverts us from that path. See, it takes us off the heart path into the head path, right? And because, I have to do this, I have to do this, I'm supposed to do that, I'm supposed to do this. We start to live this so-called perfect life that we think we're supposed to have for ourselves, mm-hmm. right?
Right.
based on an upbringing or knowledge that has been given to us. And we talked about in our last video how that's basically total garbage, right?
Right.
Because we already know what we are. We already know what we're supposed to do. It's supposed to, we as humans are supposed to cultivate that, right? I mean, you get a lot of young people who are like young prodigies, or they have a certain inclinations towards a certain reality of life. I, for one, was putting my leg behind my head, and I was doing shoulder stands when I was a kid. And what did the doctor say? The doctor said, boy, if he kept doing that his whole life, putting his leg, he'll be able to do that. He'll maintain that flexibility. But no one around my circle, my family, anybody said, geez, maybe he was a yogi in a past life, or,
maybe you should do that.
Yeah, maybe we should get him into some yoga practices, right? Because this is not something that a kid does, right? So it wasn't until way, way later on that I got into yoga, right? And I had a yoga studio, and the reason why we got it is so, I call myself Yogi John and Yogi Joni, right? We got into that. I got into the yoga. Actually, that's how I met Joni, was at the yoga studio. It was just a natural progression of my life. But I was like thinking, well, imagine where I would have been if I would have knew that,
Right. So your life, the path to it, had it been straight, you would have gone there sooner. Instead, you deviated wherever.
Because it was what I thought I was supposed to do.
Right, exactly.
But here's the thing. So now here's the tricky part. This is the greatest thing of all. This is what's so awesome about life. Because you're going to connect with that self eventually. It's just a matter of time. You got that stupid watch thing that beeps, pain in the butt. You probably guys didn't hear that, but it's just this, that little Apple Watch that tells you how to breathe. Yeah, it's a guy would throw that thing away. Pain in the butt. Anyways, the thing is, the greatest thing of all is I had a life event that occurred that changed my entire perspective, my entire outlook on life. That took me in this path over here that I thought I was supposed to go into back to my path.
Right.
Because why did that occur? Because when you enter this, before you enter this platform, this earthly realm, you have actually gone into an agreement of what you're trying to accomplish. And you have actually, believe it or not, whether you want to know this, believe this to be true or not, is that you have actually designed your entire life before you actually arrived here. And everything that is done here, if you were to follow your intuition, is designed from the higher self. Some would call it God, Goddess, all that is, or an aspect of self, right? Now, very few people will ever have contact with the higher self. Here's the reason why. It's so much information. It's too much for you. It blow out every single electrical circuit on the planet. It's that strong. The energy of love is so powerful that unless you're attuned to it, it's very difficult to handle. Matter of fact, here's a nice, a lot of people have nightmares, right? And you want to know what sometimes nightmares are actually? It's sometimes getting close to that godlike self in your dream state, and the conscious mind doesn't know how to
process it.
Process it. Mm-hmm. And it gets fearful, right? Believe it or not, you actually do pretty much leave your body every single night, whether you want to know that or not, but you basically do. Why? Because that's the best time for your guides to reach you. So this is what happens. Because, let's say, our ego got in the way and it took us off path because, I have to get a job. I'm supposed to do this. Like, I'm not supposed to go in acting. I'm not supposed to be a comedian. I got to get a real job in a real life. Or I'm not supposed to be a yogi because that doesn't make any money. How am I going to make, right?
Right.
So that mind, that ego gets in the way, okay? And then I had this an event that dropped me back because my guides were told by my higher self. I told myself on the other side that when I reach a certain age, if I haven't accomplished this particular goal, make it happen. I give permission to smack me, whatever you need to do, make it happen. And this event that occurred is what happened. And then I went from here, right, this corporate world, and all, right back, right? Okay? And then what happens? What happens? You go along this path and you do it, and then you decide to take, okay, I want to expand this. I'm just giving you a little insight into what's occurred with me. So, and let me come back to that. Why do you have your guides? Why do your guides talk to you? Because honestly, it's an easier transformation of energy. And the reason why they come to you a lot at night is because you're restful. When you meditate, believe it or not, you actually slow yourself down, which actually raises your vibrational frequency. Why did you go out in the 40 days, 40 nights? Why did you go out in the desert and just be in silence? Because when you're in silence, it actually lifts up your vibrational frequency, which makes it easier to connect with that etheric self and get the information that is the true and best for your highest good. Not the head, but the heart. You connect with the heart that exists on a higher frequency than normal physicality. Normal physicality, in a lot of essence, is dense. So it's difficult for them to come through. If they do come through, you may find that your lights blow out. You may find that you drive under a street light and it blows out. You may find it harder to wear wristwatches because the energy is so strong, it will counteract that. It will blow it up. It won't work, right? I've had, I'll give you a great example. When I had the yoga studio, I had a TV station come to the yoga studio and they were filming us. This was locally here in Arizona. It was Channel 3, right?
Right.
And none of their equipment worked. None of it. And they were like going, I can't believe this. This never happened to us. I don't know why. None of our stuff is working. Remember that? The mics weren't working. Nothing was working. We're like, I don't know what's going on here. And what I did was I knew exactly what was going on, right? Because all the guides were in there and we had this high frequency. Remember this?
Yes.
And I went into my own self and I said, okay, guys, can you just lighten up on the energies and, help me out here as far as, because they were excited. They were excited too, just like you. They get excited too. Like you're changing your life, changing your path. They get really excited. Like, all right, they're moving in their best and highest good. So your guides do that for you, right? They're actually the conduit for your higher self or etherical higher self. Your guides and your angels help mediate that energy so it's easier to get transformed to you. And a lot of times what happens is they do this at night because you're calm and relaxed, right?
More receptive.
So the minute I did that and, all of a sudden the mics popped up, the cameras popped up, they go, well, everything's working again all of a sudden. It's the greatest thing ever. I was like, yeah, I knew what was going on here. All my guides, and they were so excited and so happy that we were moving in this direction that, they basically they didn't know it, but it blew out. It was blowing out all the energy, all the equipment, right? The electromagnetic energy, I guess, right?
Right.
And you can feel it, the static energies in a room. And you want to know a good tool of how you know you're in your heart and not in your head? The energy will drop. You'll feel it. You'll feel the whole room move down. You'll just feel like it almost come to a standstill and become like almost still. And you're like, okay, now we're finally reaching truth. A lot of times when you go into meditation, it takes a while to get to that truth because you have a lot of chatter. Mm-hmm. So the energy is still real high and you're saying this isn't working. No, it's not that it's not working. It just may take some time to you allow yourself to get rid of that chatter and allow the true self to come through. That may take a couple of sessions.
Right.
Right?
That's okay.
And so you have to understand that's just allow that time. And then when you do it enough, you're going to go, oh, okay, this is what this feels like. And now you're in self. And then it'll come easier and easier and easier each time you do it because you'll automatically go to the heart chakra, the heart area, where the true knowledge exists, okay? The brain is only a facilitator of the heart. The brain thinks it is the brain, thinks it wants to run everything. And the brain is very addictive. So you have to understand that too. The brain is like the ego. Mm-hmm. The brain doesn't like to give up things because it's comfort. The brain likes to have its own steady self. The heart loves to grow and expand and experience. It wants to learn. It wants to try new things. That's what the heart is, and that's God. That's God, goddess, all that is, whatever you want to talk about it. But that's love, right? That's where that whole thing exists, right? So getting back to the yoga studio is then I wanted to expand. I wanted to write movies, write books, which I did. I wrote some books, wrote a movie. And the movie was basically about my life, Life the Ultimate Puzzle. It was a book that I've written that I turned into a movie that I tried to get made, book tried to get published, and I haven't got it published yet. And what happened? Well, I kind of gave up, right? Why? I lost faith. I lost faith because I wasn't making any money, right? And, well, you have to eat, right? You got to pay a bill. So I went back into my ego mind, and I didn't trust the process. I didn't have faith in the process, and I went back into my, I have to get a job. Here's the thing. Once you get that job, you could get stuck in that.
Yeah.
Right?
It happens, yeah. Sure.
You can get stuck in there.
Because now you're reliant upon the paycheck, and
right.
You don't think there's any other way to get
it. Right. You don't think there's any other way to get it.
And that's incorrect.
Right. And then what happens? You get stuck. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
And then what happens? Remember, you went on an agreement here and you said if this doesn't occur, make it happen. Life becomes unbearable. Work sucks. People bug you. Is it their fault? Is it work's fault?
No.
No. They're doing their job. I put them in front of me to show me how cruddy this is to get me to go, dude, I need to change. I got to get back to what I was, to what I love, to what I want to do. And you say, okay, well, what is it that you want to do, John? Well, your whole mission and purpose from the get-go was what? To get the information out, period. The only reason why you ever wanted to be an actor was why? To get the information out. I wanted to do movies about the information. I wanted to do TV shows. I wanted to do TV shows that promoted all people and never discuss it. See, my opinion, you know how you get rid of a lot of problems? You don't. Like racism, and if you're gay or whatever, whatever the thing is, right? Psychic, because trust me, they get treated a little too, right? Is you put them all, and just like people are living and like having fun. Different races, different nationalities, different religions, which I don't...
Different occupations.
Different occupations.
Every different walk of life.
And never mention it.
Right.
Just make it look like it's normal and natural, which it is.
Right. Absolutely.
That was my whole goal. I wanted to become an actor so I could learn how to direct and produce. Really, that was, and the only reason why I wanted to do that is so I can get information out there, pure and simple, right? So then you say, well, what are you doing here? What are you doing? Well, why don't you start? Then YouTube comes around, right? And you do it slowly, and then you kind of leave it, right? Then you go back to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you got to commit, because it's very easily to get sucked back into that, right?
Yes.
I need to work.
Yes.
Because, we...
Right. And I don't think we truly knew the power of YouTube early on, or had we known we could get involved in something like it to get the word out, we might have done it, but we weren't really aware of it at that time. That was
and YouTube
years ago.
That's only one avenue. I mean, we're discovering other avenues, because honestly, I don't like just having one avenue. Right. We don't want anybody having that much control over content or information.
Right.
So, but right now it's what we use, but we also can use Facebook, Instagram. So we're starting to develop all these other areas. So that's why, I implore you, please like it, share it. And like I've always said, don't listen to us. Follow your heart. If this stuff rings true, goes, this guy makes sense, right? I will tell you 100%. And I've learned this. People often say, they don't listen to you. Because the reason why they don't is ego. It's ego. So you take an individual who says, basically, through me, you find the kingdom of heaven, right? And then they make a religion out of this, right? They build churches, they build everything to, bear with me one second, my system went out, right? The very thing that he didn't want. The very thing that he didn't want, that's what they do when people congregate, which cracks me up. Now, I don't mind congregations and communities because a lot of good comes from congregations and community, right, of people. And if that's the purpose, fantastic. But don't use his name in that reality because that's not what he wanted ever. Ever. Because the true reality is this: I'm in you, you are me, we are one, right?
Right.
So what was he really saying to you? Is I'm a conduit for your higher self. See, the very thing that I find fascinating, this is what I had to learn to myself, because definitely it's going to challenge your belief system. It's going to challenge your thought process. It's going to take you places where you never thought you would ever go, ever. And you're going to look at life like, whoa. You know, when someone sits down and has a reading with me, I always tell them, you know, the reality is this, man, I'm going to push you to areas you might not be comfortable in, but I guarantee it's for your best and highest good. And here's the greatest thing you're going to learn. It's the same thing that I learned, is the people that I thought I was listening to were really myself. My guides, my angels, my spirit guides, right? Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, right? Mm-hmm. They were just conduits, radio receivers for my higher self. I mean, that's how, when they sit and they look and you go, well, so it takes me to walk on water for you to listen? That's pathetic. That's pathetic, right? That's why we don't do that anymore. Not going to do that. Because it's not up to us to change you. It's up to you to change yourself. It's up to you to create new realities in your life. And that's what this whole channel is all about. This whole channel is allowing information to be provided to help you find you. And I guarantee if you trust yourself, like I said, don't believe us. Don't listen to us, right? But ask yourself, does this ring true to me? Is this information valid? This makes sense to me. Then follow it. Because I guarantee you what you're going to find out in the end is the very message you were listening to the entire time did not come from us. It came from you. And that's the greatest gift of all. That's the one thing you're going to understand. When you follow it and you believe it and you trust it in the power of love, you're going to realize that was me all along. So I thought I was listening to John and Joni, but I was really listening to myself. Wow. I thought I was believing or listening to Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or whatever. But I was really listening to myself. They were just guiding me to me. How awesome is that? But what a long journey that was. Why was it long? Because we let our head get in the way of the message. We let our head get in the way of our path and progression because we thought we knew best. We thought, nah, this can't be. Come on. We don't want to give up control. Right?
Right.
Do yourself a favor. Give up the control. Let God take the wheel for a while. Okay? God got us all that is. Trust me. You're in good hands. Okay? Allow yourself to just feel. Just be. And that essence of love, whatever you want to define it, however you want to call it, I call it God got us all that is just because it's easy for me to define it and understand it. You can use whatever you want. I really don't care. As long as you understand that this process is you. And the process that you're actually following is pure love energy. 100% pure love energy. And that love energy can transform and transmute anything in your life to the positive. And I invite you that sometimes when things happen in your life that are tragic is to step back for a moment and evaluate. I'm not saying don't feel the grief. I'm not saying don't feel the pain. I'm not saying that don't say this sucks, because it might suck. What I went through was tough, man. Tough. And I still get lessons today and I go, you son of a gun. They did it to me again. I thought I knew this and they, bam. Right? And how do you know that? Observational awareness. because it gets tested and then information pops in on you. So give up the control. Okay? Allow your higher self, you, to guide your life. Listen. Go within. Plant a tree. Sit in silence. Whatever it takes, allow yourself. Ask a question before you go to bed at night. Keep a pen and paper by your bed. You may have the answer. Give up that control and allow your true self to shine through. With that, I'm John.
I'm Joni.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Pretty good?
Pretty good.
Remember, we love you. Love yourself. Treat yourself kind. Always, always be great. Until next time, have a great rest of your day. Peace and love. Grow, love, and expand. Like it, subscribe, share.